Good day to you, dear beloved, and welcome to this video. We will continue our joyful journey within the series called One Organism in Christ. And of course, we will now continue with the slides. And the last slide is this one. And of course, I'm going to read it again because this is, I would say, a harder, let me put it like that, a harder passage. So it's good to really think about it, to ponder on it. Let's read Colossians 2, verse 18 and 19. And I'm going to break it down a little bit, definitely grammatically also, so that you can see the flow of the sentence. Let no one be arbitrating against you who wants, in humility and the ritual of the messengers, to parade what he has seen, faintly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding the head, out of whom the entire body, being supplied and united through the assimilation and ligaments, is growing in the growth of God. We already established in the previous video that the word translated messengers is good. It's not angels, but it should be messengers. Okay, so now we're going to break down the sentence just to see the flow better. Let no one be arbitrating against you who wants, so that person that should arbitrate or would want to arbitrate against you, that person wants to parade what he has seen. And how does he want to parade what he has seen? In a mindset of I would say faintly. So a mindset of being faintly, and also a mindset of being puffed up. And of course, that mindset is fleshly, of course. But it continues, that person wants, that's why the person, because of the fleshly mind, is not prepared to hold the head, out of whom, and that's Christ, of course, out of whom the entire body is growing in the growth of God. So this person wants to parade what he has seen. That's why he is not prepared to hold Christ, out of whom the entire body is growing in the growth of God. Can you see the flow of the sentence? And the other parts is just an in-between addition. First of all, let no one, that person, be arbitrating against you who wants, and now in humility, but it's of course false humility in that sense. Because he is puffed up by his fleshly mind. So the humility is false. And of course, ritual of messengers, these are people messengers, by the way, with their rituals, the Judaizers, those messengers with their rituals. Well, this person wants to parade what he has seen as if it is a great thing. Do you see? And of course, that comes from a fleshly mind. So that's why that person doesn't want to hold the head, Christ, out of whom the entire body is growing. And how is the entire body growing? How is the entire body growing in the growth of God? By being supplied and united through the assimilation and ligaments. Okay, so since we are now a little bit more into the flow of the sentence, let's continue. However, many modern translations render messengers as angels, what I already mentioned. This doesn't refer to angel worship, this sentence, this passage, as is often interpreted, but rather to messengers people, human messengers, promoting religious rituals. That's what it's all about here. Their aim was to ritualize the listeners. If someone didn't conform to a to a specific ritual, they were deemed disqualified and excluded from participation. I remember that when I was in church. When they had the supper, the Last Supper remembrance, remember that? They call that the evening supper or whatever, the meal. And when bread is being dispensed and wine, of course, not real wine, no, grape juice. Of course, it cannot have alcohol. No. And they didn't even realize that grape juice is, of course, a figure or typology of this life before death. That means it's talking about mortality. So grape juice is dying. So anyway, that's what they were dispensing. But oh boy, if you had, let's say, didn't forgive someone in your heart, and you would take it, wow, it would be to your detriment. So it was really a threat in church. Don't take it if you have someone on your heart that you didn't forgive yet, or whatever it is. Oh, don't dare to take it. So what is then the clue? What is the consequence of that? If you have someone on your heart that you didn't forgive, either you're standing up and you're leaving the hall, the church building, or you go to that person and ask for forgiveness, or you don't take the meal, but people will look at you like, oh, there's something the matter with him or her because they didn't take the meal, or you take it and you do as if and you take it and it is to your detriment. So you are then exercising being a hypocrite also. That's what it does to you. Can you see that? Can you imagine that? Did you live that? I was there. I remember. So this is terrible. This church ritual thing is terrible. Has nothing to do with the truth under God's grace, the freedom of God's grace. Nothing. So I'm going to read this, the third bullet point again. Their aim, those messengers promoting religious rituals, their aim was to ritualize the listeners. If someone didn't conform to a specific ritual, they were deemed disqualified and excluded from participation. Wow. My experience totally. In church, Paul critiques this notion of desired humility, arguing that submitting to religious rituals can obscure your awareness of your elevated position. It can, I can say it will obscure. I can guarantee you that. It will obscure your awareness of your elevated position in Christ. So I can only encourage you not to go to church. It will entice you. It will seduce you because of all the feelings and emotions attached to it. It's overwhelming. So do not go to church. Do not fall for that trap, please. So this desired humility, again, it's fake, of course. It's also fake humility. Oh, have I been there? I know about it. I think 2 weeks ago I talked with an old friend of childhood friend about it. She was also in the same church as I grew up in, and we know about these things. And now we can laugh about them. Anyway, what is the elevated position? We already talked a lot about it, but it's very important in this series to encourage and to be edified. So what is the elevated position? It is the realization that you are complete in Christ, who is the head of every sovereignty and authority. Colossians 2 verse 10. That's the elevated position that we have. It's the realization that we are totally complete in Him, in Christ. You are in Him who is above all. And therefore you are also above all. Again, you are in Christ who is above all, every sovereignty and authority. And therefore you are also above all. Do you see your position? Oh yeah. Can you imagine now a little bit more? In spirit, you are already a part of the new creation. You are free, already free from the regulations and rituals of the old creation. Please stay free. Stay free. Be free and stay free. There's another aspect to also go through, and that is, of course, the fact that we now have deal with spiritual gifts, not the visual gifts and the sensory perceptible gifts as was in the past. No, it's now spiritual gifts. What occurs during rituals? What occurs during rituals? Primarily, your senses are engaged, right? Your senses are engaged. Your soulish senses. Take a church service, for example. There is often much to see. Ministers in robes adorned with colored stoles. Tablecloths that reflect the liturgical colors of the year. Easter candles. Stained glass windows, and in Catholic settings also numerous images and icons. And a lot more. How about the great singing? How about great music? How about a charismatic preaching or preacher? Charismatic words, loud volume, because then it is more blessed and more inspired. Because the volume is high. And then you can go home and say, oh, this was a blessed service. And all in all, it was just emotions. It was emotions. Well, all these things in such a church service, what makes this time unique in which we live now is that there is nothing visible in the gifts of faith, expectation, and love. These three gifts. Those are the spiritual gifts that we have now and we deal with now. And all three are invisible. They are spiritual, and that's why they are also higher. They are a lot higher than the visible gifts, like the gift of speaking in tongues, like the gift of healing, the gift of interpretation, the gift of revelation, etc. Those are all visible and audible gifts. These gifts are spiritual. Those are a lot higher because God is spirit. I hope you see this. Let's continue. There are no tangible experiences to be had in that regard. Christ remains hidden. Remember, Colossians 3:3, we'll see it just now in the same slide. Christ is hidden and remains hidden for now. Thus, there are no grand manifestations of impressive healings or miracles. While miracles may occur occasionally, they do not define this era or administration. I repeat, while miracles may occur occasionally, they don't define this era or administration. Christ is currently hidden in God, just as we are hidden in God. Colossians 3 verse 3. Although you cannot see him, you can hear him in that sense. You can hear him. A beautiful illustration, a shadow of this, is found in the Old Testament high priest who wore bells on the hem of his robe. Do you know that? Let's take a look. On the day of Yom Kippur, but while he was the priest, while he went into the tabernacle, he wasn't visible. People couldn't see him anymore. But he could be heard because of the sound of those bells on his hem. The same applies to Christ. Although he is not seen, he speaks through his word. This characteristic that defines the time we are in now, this era of secret. That's why we are hidden. People don't see us. They see us as a human being. They deal with us as such, but they don't see who we are in Christ at all. And even if we tell them, they will laugh at us because they don't see it. They are totally blinded to that truth yet. So the allure of rituals with a religious nature is entirely understandable, of course. People desire to see something tangible, to feel something real. That's how we are in these bodies, of course. In those moments, it is the soul that is engaged. So that desire to see something tangible, to feel something real, that is a desire of our soul. It's a soulish desire. However, what truly matters here is the spirit, the invisible and of course spiritual aspect. And as we already know, I'm going to repeat it, the spirit is way higher than the soul in that sense. Okay, let me do one more slide. Otherwise, this will be a little on the short side. How about the expression assimilation and ligaments? The messengers, again, human messengers in Colossae, were self-inflated and they were focused on their own glory rather than on the head, Christ. You see that there was a fake humility. It was not humility at all. It was self-inflating. This disconnection is where the problem lies. The head is Christ and they didn't hold the head. The head is Christ. The ecclesia is his body. Together they form one organism. Of course, spiritually speaking, his position is our position. Wherever the head goes, the body obviously follows. The head is central and nourishes the entire body through assimilation and ligaments. So, think about this first, and then in the next video, I'm going to start with this slide again, and then continue to deepen the subject. Okay, well, I thank you for watching and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.